During World War II, the ocean wasn't just a vast expanse of blue, it was a battlefield. Beneath the surface lurked one of the most feared threats of the war. German U-boats, these stealthy submarines, operating in coordinated groups called Wolfpacks, brought terror to Allied shipping routes, nearly severing supply lines and altering the course of naval warfare forever. The term Wolfpack or Rudeltaktik in German was inspired by nature. Like wolves hunting in coordinated groups, German U-boats used swarm tactics to overwhelm and sink Allied convoys. While individual submarines had been effective in World War I, Admiral Karl Dönitz, commander of the German U-boat fleet, refined the Wolfpack strategy during World War II to devastating effect. Instead of operating alone, U-boats patrolled in lines across the Atlantic. When one boat spotted a convoy, it would shadow the ships and radio its position to headquarters. Other U-boats would converge on the target, launching a mass attack, often at night, and often with deadly precision. Their main battlefield was the Battle of the Atlantic, a 6-year campaign to control the vital shipping lanes between North America and Europe. The stakes were high. The Allies needed to transport troops, food, fuel, and weapons. The Germans aimed to starve Britain into submission. Convoys of merchant ships, escorted by warships, tried to cross the Atlantic safely, but Wolfpacks could strike without warning. Their torpedoes sank tens of thousands of tons of cargo, and entire convoys could be wiped out before help arrived. It was a terrifying ordeal. Sailors aboard merchant ships knew that at any moment a torpedo might rip through the hull. Survivors of such attacks often faced freezing waters, fire, or days stranded at sea. At the start of the war, the Wolfpack tactic worked frighteningly well. In 1942 alone, German U-boats sank over 6 million tons of Allied shipping, an all-time high. It seemed as if the Allies might lose the Atlantic entirely, but innovation turned the tide. Radar and sonar improvements allowed Allied ships to detect submarines more effectively. Escort carriers and long-range patrol aircraft closed the mid-Atlantic gap, where U-boats had once operated safely out of air range. The breaking of the Enigma code, used by the Germans to coordinate U-boat movements, gave the Allies a massive intelligence advantage. New tactics like hunter-killer groups made U-boats the hunted, not just the hunters. By mid-1943, the Allies began sinking U-boats in greater numbers, and the Wolfpacks were no longer as effective. Dönitz called off large-scale Wolfpack operations, and while U-boats remained a threat until the end of the war, the tide had turned. By the end of World War II, more than 700 U-boats were lost, and roughly 30,000 German submariners, 3/4 of the force, never returned home. Their campaign inflicted massive damage. More than 3,000 Allied ships were sunk, and over 70,000 sailors and civilians died in the Atlantic. But the Wolfpacks also changed naval warfare forever. They forced the development of new technologies, reshaped strategy, and demonstrated the power of coordinated undersea warfare, lessons that still influence submarine operations today. The Wolfpacks were a chilling example of how strategy, innovation, and desperation can reshape a war. Though ultimately defeated, they dominated the Atlantic for years and in doing so, earned a fearsome place in naval history. Now it's time for your input. What surprised you about the Wolfpacks? What other tactics or technologies from this era would you like us to cover? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to stay tuned for more journeys into the past.